See, I'm also going to put it in the chat on the live stream, which we should be doing here in 1 minute. Oh, Pat, you got it.
Yeah, I'm hitting it. Are you checking me, Leo?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, see, so it's been updated. So if you click that link that Leo put in there, it'll come up to
The registration.
to the presentation. Now, but if you want to join, you mean all you got to do is go to alamoinventors.org and click on I believe register, and then once you put your name and stuff in there, you're connected on Zoom.
All right, good deal. All right, well, with that, it is 7 o'clock straight up, and put the camera on me, and we will spotlight. Let's see, let me make sure I've got that done right. I'll review and spotlight for everyone, and here we go. All right. All right, we are Leo, are we live on? We are live on YouTube. All right. Well, did the patent for a fire hydrant get burned up in a fire? That actually happened? Did an Arizona inventor just stop police chases with something that's out of a Batman movie? And can economic depressions actually spark successful inventions? These and other cool things we're going to be talking about tonight, and welcome to the September edition of Inventor Friday Live. I am Don Skaggs, kind of chief cook and bottle washer around here. And with me tonight is Leo York.
Hey, everybody.
And there we go. Nope. Almost there. We're getting there. There we go. Next one down. Nope. Almost there. We have a new cameraman, folks. There we go. Leo York.
Hey.
Inventor, entrepreneur, copywriter extraordinaire. And also tonight we have some very special guests, surprise guests. To my right across from me is Dwayne Buckles. There we go, Dwayne.
Hello,
Dwayne,
everyone.
tell everybody who you are, what you do, what you're all about, and say something cool about robots.
Sure. My name's Dwayne Buckles. I'm here in Lexington, and as Don was mentioning, I work for a company called Pringle Robotics, service robots for things such as delivery, cleaning, disinfecting, and AI-powered robots, which is going to be the future. So glad to be here.
Very cool. Very cool. Also with us tonight is Ryan Montgomery.
Hello.
Almost there. Number 3. Nope.
3. Sorry. No. Hey, again.
No worries.
922 is you.
Let us label
One below that. There we go. And click on start video. There you go. There you go.
Hey, whoops.
Nope. One more time. There we go. There's Ryan. Ryan, tell us.
On, I collapsed.
Ryan, tell us who you are, what you're all about.
I currently practice as a full-time physical therapist in Lexington, Kentucky. Most of my interest is in medical products, and I guess that's enough for now.
All right. Cool. Very cool. All right. And also with us tonight, that is manning our cameras and doing a lot better job than I did last month, is George Mulder.
Hey.
Longtime inventor, longtime member, all around great guy. And we're really glad to have you along with
Thanks. Trying to learn how to push this right button here now. That's what it's come down to.
George, you want to tell them about yourself, or?
No, that's it.
Okay,
Lexington,
okay.
semi-retired.
All right.
I don't know. Yeah.
Very good. Very cool. All righty. Good deal. Well, tonight we have we want to mention our sponsors. We are in what I like to call the Total HealthWorks Studio. And I want to share my screen here. And see if we can get this to come up. There we go.
Yeah.
All right. And what is Total Health Works? Well, Total Health Works is the brainchild of one of our very own, Bennett Gatto. Bennett came up with a way, he really had a desire to help people who were suffering from Parkinson's, MS, a lot of neurodegenerative diseases, and found out that it actually helped a lot of people with what they call brain health. And he developed a really, really cool way to combine cognitive and physical exercise in a certain way to really, really help these people with Parkinson's, these people with MS, and adults. You know, if you're like me and wondered why you walked into that room the other day, well, this is the kind of things he helps with. And as I like to say, if they can do what they do for people with Parkinson's disease, and they do some amazing things for them, imagine what they could do for you, because they do actually have programs for everyone. They call it healthy aging, and so it's just a wonderful program. He's just launching a brand new product that's really, really cool. Can't wait to start talking about later, but you can go on now and download a brochure and learn more all about it at totalhealthworks.com. And they are they graciously, we get to share this building with them, and we get to use it as a studio once a month on Friday. So we're really, really glad about that. Also, if you are not a member, if you don't know much about us, you want to find out more about who we are, our organization, we are kyinventors.org. And if you go there, you can see our website, and we have just a lot of cool things going on. We have usually the lineup and all the things that are coming up. Here's our Inventor Friday that's going on right now. Next week, we're going to have a workshop, and that is a very, very special meeting. It's members only. And if you want to become a member, you just scroll up here and click on Join Us Now, and you can actually become a member. That'll get you entrance to the workshop. The workshop's a very, very different animal than this meeting or the one we have on the first Tuesday of the month. We actually go around the room. We all work under a closed NDA, and we introduce everyone. Then we go around the room again, and everybody gets a chance to talk about, this is what I have, this is where I'm at, this is where I'm stuck. Instead of getting one person's opinion or idea, you get an entire room full of people. Sort of turns into a brainstorming session on steroids. The energy in the room is very high. It's almost palpable. You can, if you ask anybody that's ever been to one, they can tell you what they know what I'm talking about. So anyway, you can join us for that. Again, you just have to become a member. Go to kyinventors.org and help us help you move forward with your idea. So also, one other thing I want to mention tonight is later this month, Leo and I are going to be at a summit in New Hampshire. It's called the Radically Rural Summit. We've partnered with a organization out in New Hampshire and some other parts of the U.S. that are helping rural innovators. And it's kind of a little extension of our Invent Appalachia initiative that we launched last year. And it sort of extends out to a lot of other rural innovators, rural entrepreneurs. And so if you're interested in that, just go to radicallyrural.org. And it's a really cool conference. Leo and I will be there. And actually, again, we're going to be talking to him about partnering with some really cool stuff later. So, all right. Well, with that, let's get into some inventions in history. So this month with inventions, September 8th, 1838, is a patent was filed for a new and useful improvement in fire plugs and fire hydrants. And I want to share my screen again so we can see this. Here we go. There we are. So this was it. You know, it's kind of a simple drawing if you think about it. Of course, you got to think this is 1838. And of course, there's more information down here. If you go to Google Patents, you can look this up. But was this the first invention for a fire hydrant? Actually, it's the earliest one we can look up right now, because the earliest patent for a fire hydrant actually burned in the patent office, burned to the ground. And this is sort of an interesting story, and I didn't know this. You know, I've heard this before about fire hydrants, but I didn't know that every single patent was destroyed that was at the patent office. So this was in 1810. The patent office was located in a place called the Blodgett Hotel, or formerly known as Blodgett's Hotel. And the government purchased it in 1810. Oh no, 1836 is it? Someone had left smoldering ashes in an ember box in a fuel room, and not far from where the patent office employees stored firewood. So the next thing you know, it burst into flames. And so the patent for a fire hydrant was not only burned, but it looks like an estimated 9,000 drawings and 7,000 models. This is kind of an interesting thing about back in the 1800s, when you filed for a patent, you sent drawings, you sent a description, kind of like you do now, but you also sent a model. So you had like a model you made of it, and you would actually send that out. So 7,000 models were destroyed, including Robert Fulton's model for a steamboat. Which I thought that was just wild. So anyway, and this is a question I want to kind of throw out to you guys. Could records of old innovations, that one of these 9,000 things that were destroyed and lost to history, do you think now that there might be like forgotten or unknown inventions out there? And what makes me think of that is the Roman invention of concrete. There's
I had that written down.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah. Did some research on that.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Well, tell us about it. Yeah.
No, go ahead. Now.
No. All I know is there are concrete structures in Rome today, and it was concrete they used to make back in Roman times, and they're still standing. They're functional. They're fine. They're not crumbling. You know, we make concrete today. It was like how to make it was lost until like, what was it, the 1940s or 18?
Something to that effect. And really the chemistry was like last year, this year or something.
Yeah. And the whole thing of the Portland cement, I think is what they came out when it was the more recent invention. And it was a great innovation and all that, but the stuff falls apart.
I was gonna say, every other year they still got to pave stuff. So,
right.
Yeah, and I know trying to figure out what exactly made the concrete so durable. There was some speculation, like was it lime? Because it was like, lime blocks, and they thought it was actually a structural error on their part, which might have been the whole key.
That's the argument, is that it causes it to self-heal, because as it breaks, the lime gets wet and it expands and fills in the damage.
Yeah, or was it salt? Or I think they also heated it when they would pour it. It was or when they would mix it. It was actually heated. So a lot of chemistry type things going on. But I landed on that because I'm getting ready to do a concrete patio project.
Oh.
I found it very interesting.
Are you gonna try the new formulation?
I'm not sure yet.
Oh,
I
cool.
know in the 15th century, this is just an example of how advanced some older things are. And this is why I totally agree that it's very likely that there are, among those 9,000, something was of value. Like in the 15th century, Leonardo da Vinci came up with a sprinkler system. And it was because he was making a super kitchen for Ludovico Sforza, who was like this really rich patron of his. And he makes him this big kitchen, and then the patron's like, well, yeah, but this is so big and there's so much that cooks. Like, what if there's a fire? And he came up with a sprinkler system for, I don't know how it worked, but it was a 15th century sprinkler system. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Which might have been more robust than stuff we build today.
I wouldn't be that shocked, frankly.
Oh.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, what do you think, Dwayne?
You can,
Well, I was just kind of thinking, again, I'm kind of getting into the artificial intelligence side of things. And if you have all these patents from history and they're digitized, which I assume somebody's working on that project if they haven't completed it already, that eventually artificial intelligence is going to be looking at each one of those patents, comparing to what's doing now, what was done then, and creating some type of new inventions
I see.
artificially.
Right.
Yeah.
If I'm
Behind the
behind
scenes.
this, yeah.
And, pulling basically trillions of points of data in, they can, that artificially, the AI will create some new inventions for us. Now, we're not there yet, but
Right.
Yeah,
once they feed all that in there and let it work behind the scenes, who knows what it'll come up with.
Yeah.
So never replace the human innovation, but still they're,
yeah, was that kind of a
Recent thing.
yeah, it was a recent debate about, okay, can AI actually file for a patent?
And the USPTO said no.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, that's good.
But,
Well, that's
okay.
funny. Last live stream, we talked about that, and I joked that it might be seen as a civil rights violation in a few decades.
Once they become conscious,
Right,
maybe.
exactly.
Oh, but okay, so what if you owned the AI program, AI robot, whatever you'd want to call it, whatever it becomes, and the AI comes up with that, then does that make you, could that make you the inventor?
I actually think currently, again, this is all going to be up in the air for a
Mhm.
long time, but currently the USPTO uses AI as a tool. And so if the person who prompted it
Mhm.
makes use of it to come up with something, they're the inventor,
Mhm.
not the creator of the actual tool. It's kind of like if I make a birdhouse with a hammer, it's my birdhouse. It's not the hammer manufacturer's birdhouse, and it's not the hammer's.
Well, it's just like the internet. Nobody really owns the internet.
Yeah.
AI is just like that too. As you mentioned, it's a tool, so it will be something that's you'll be able to create things quicker, faster, prove out concepts quicker, test things quicker.
Yeah.
But it'll be an
Cool.
interesting future.
Cool. Yeah. As long as they didn't, well, no, as long as they, no, that's not what I was going to say. I was going to say if they could, what I really would like to see is if they could somehow reconstruct all those lost patents. I just wonder what might have been, it's kind of like reminds me of the Alexandria Library
Yeah.
whole thing.
That one upsets me more than the patent office.
There's a professor at University of Kentucky that's analyzing the Dead Sea Scrolls or some type of scrolls using, I don't know what the technology is, but they don't actually unroll
I know what you're
the
talking
text
about. They scan it
because they're so brittle they can't
Right.
unroll it,
They
but they're
fall
able
off.
to X-ray it somehow and pull
Right.
the data out. And
Oh,
he's
good
got this
stuff.
program that will actually lay that out. So can you recreate things from ashes? I don't know, but that's about as close as you can get probably from a
Yeah.
scroll that's 2,000
Wow.
years old.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah, I mean, just there's so much that might have been lost that maybe just needs to be rediscovered. I mean, who knows? It might be the thing you come up with next might be the thing that they had in the patent office in 1810 and nobody knew.
If you're into conspiracy theories and so forth, what happened before the Great Flood or so?
Oh yeah, all right.
We're still finding artifacts that.
Well, yeah, Antikythera mechanism. That's basically a Greek computer. It's
Mhm.
bananas.
That has always fascinated me. It's like, okay, we found a computer at the bottom of the Aegean Sea,
Right.
and it's like 2,000 years old.
Karen says that they actually had concrete that set up underwater in Roman times. So
Hmm.
that's another argument that Atlantis is real, probably. 'Cause they probably had a freeway going there.
Oh gosh. Wow. Yeah. And I even read later when they built the new patent office, they actually had they had made duplicates and put them at a alternate location. I'm surprised they didn't think about that in the beginning, but it's like, oh, I guess we need to make backup copies of all these.
So, might have still been fighting wars or something.
Yeah,
like that,
you're right.
We need somebody to invent the photocopier.
There you go.
That's right.
And they did, right? All right, well, let's move on to the next one here. Let's see. September 19th, 1876. We're still in the 19th century right now. Melvin Bissell, you recognize that name, patented a carpet sweeper. And let's see. So following the financial panic of 1873, am I sharing this? I am not sharing this. Sorry, guys.
No worries.
Completely got caught up in everything and all the excitement. I forgot to share my screen. There we go. Now everybody can see it. So following the financial panic in 1873 and following a economic depression, Bissell began working on a carpet sweeper. So in 1876, he patented a sweeper with a central brush, rubber wheels, other improvements over previous sweepers. Ironically, a fire in 1884 destroyed his. This is the night talk about fires, I guess. Destroyed his first factory, but he was able to overcome the loss and still later expand his business. So this is his patent, and it's funny, you know, you kind of, this looks like a modern one. Now this, what was this, 1876, and you know, I've seen ones that just kind of look like that today. It's pretty wild. You know,
two rotating brushes of opposite directions, probably rotating in opposite direction and pulling dirt in, and there's no vacuum involved, right? This is just brushing dirt into a bin, I guess.
Just
I remember my parents having one of these at my house.
oh really?
Yeah, absolutely, with the two rollers.
Oh yeah.
And the top opened up in a weird way, and you turned it upside down and emptied the dirt out
I
of it.
Well, you
had
still
to
see those
do
in a lot
that
of
at
restaurants.
school as a kid. Yeah, we had one of those. That's
I still see them used in restaurants all the time.
Did it look like that one?
It wasn't far off.
Yeah. These are actually from the Henry Ford Museum. So this is actually an advertisement for it.
You know, there used to be a Bissell factory over in Louisville, and they closed about 20 years ago. But I don't know what kind of vacuums they made there. It was a big operation right off of Interstate 65.
Really? That's interesting. I did not know that they had
Bissell Sweepers or Bissell something or other. So.
Wow. Yeah, there was one other really interesting piece of information with this I thought of. And I was trying to find it. Yeah, here it is. So, you know, it kind of went through some rough times, but, you know, he still left a legacy. Everybody kind of knows. Tragedy struck when Melvin Bissell died in 1889 of pneumonia. Anna, now a widow with 4 children, stepped up to lead the company. From the company's beginning, Anna had been intimately involved and became president of the company from 1889 to 1919, the first female CEO in the United States. I thought that was really, I would not have thought of that in late 19th century. It's just something you don't think of, but sure enough, she did.
Somebody like Aunt Jemima or something. One of them that was a CEO.
Might have been.
Yeah, I think this was a little, this might have been afterwards. So I don't know.
Yeah. And this is actually I guess it's where they sold one.
Yeah.
Were they 50 cents? That's
Nice.
wild.
Door-to-door vacuum sales.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So there was equality back then for women.
Yes, on some level. I didn't even know you were here, Dan.
Yeah, I was late. I was
You
late.
stuck in on us and unmuted yourself.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Hey, you know, it would be interesting to find out how Aunt Jemima became the mark for Bisquick or you know.
She was a marketing genius. She would come up with like all these jingles for the product. And didn't she get hit by a bus or something? I swear, I think she died like in a really weird way.
Okay, this is going to be one we'll have to
Put a pin in, or
we'll put a pin in that.
Yeah, that's another one.
We'll save that for another.
There we go.
Friday.
So
a question to throw out to our group here, to our folks in the room here. So can an economic depression actually spark inventors to create new things? What do y'all think?
Well, I keep on telling my wife, I said, well, someday we'll probably find out why our parents washed Reynolds wrap and reused it. We're not there yet, but we could be close.
Yeah.
Funny enough, I actually saw somebody post that.
Really?
No, this is the scary part. So
Yeah.
they posted that on, I think it was Twitter or X or whatever you call it. Fact checkers corrected it and said there is no evidence that earlier generations washed Reynolds wrap, or what was it? It was something obvious that
They
I
didn't
knew.
know my
break
mom.
beans. Break beans. They said the old generations didn't break beans.
Didn't break beans.
Didn't break beans. It's like
My
everybody in this
grandmother
room
break
knows somebody
beans.
breaks
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Very,
But,
very dystopian.
yeah,
The
but
correction.
I,
on
you
that.
know, I'm a product, my parents were from the Depression era.
Mm.
So we reused everything, didn't throw anything away as we
Yeah.
knew when we were cleaning out my parents' basement after they passed and
Yeah.
barns and so forth. But
Yeah.
old 55-gallon drums would become cattle feeders and
Mhm.
things like that. So
We always had lard in the fridge in random containers. It could, you'd think, oh, ice cream, and you'd open it up. It would be lard.
That's a bad surprise to
It
have
is.
if you were
It
expecting
is.
ice cream. Oh, gosh. Oh, but yeah, I mean, you just, you don't know, you know, back then they would do all these things. It's funny, some things people did because of hardship sort of became delicacies. And I'll tell you a good example of this. I was talking about this the other day. It's kind of that time of year, but in Kentucky, or at least the part of Kentucky I'm from, they have something called Chucky Beans. And if anybody wants to respond in the chat, they can. If you know what Chucky Beans is,
Yeah.
you
Put in the
would-
chat if you've ever heard
Yeah.
of Chucky Beans.
I almost want to give away a prize if somebody can
Yeah.
know what it is.
If you know what it is, you get a bag.
Oh, wait. Yeah, right. No, Charles is here. I know he knows what it is. He's smiling like he knows. So, but anyway, it's kind of an Eastern. I don't know if it's an Eastern Kentucky thing or not.
it's not a Central Kentucky thing.
Oh,
Southern.
so my grandmother used to take broke bean, white half runners, whatever,
Yep.
green beans, and she would take a needle and thread and she would like string them up like a big just heavy strings, and she would hang them and let them dry, and they'd get all shriveled and they just looked like they were ruined or something. She'd take those beans and then she would put them in a pressure cooker.
Oh,
And those were the best. I
way
still
better
remember-
than fresh beans.
Yeah. Well, 1,000 times better than fresh bean. It's like a favorite thing of mine.
And how long would they last? I mean,
Oh, they last a
long
long
time.
time, and that's probably why
Until
they
next year,
did them.
probably,
yeah, I've
Yeah.
never heard that before.
Yeah.
Chucky Beans.
Chucky Beans.
Yeah.
What we would do, how we would dry instead of a thread. I've seen a lot of people do needle and thread, but we would take just a quilt and we would tie it up, like a hammock, basically.
Oh,
Just fan it out and let it dry. So yeah.
interesting.
Hey, Don, I got a story about a depression that's kind of interesting.
Okay.
Well, so back during the Depression, food and stuff was very scarce. And so the doctors back then were telling people to save, all your grease, your bacon grease or whatever, put it in the refrigerator and then just eat it like pudding.
Wow.
Because that was
Yeah.
a good source of protein that wasn't commonly available. Well, anyway, my mother, I remember her until basically the day she died. She'd take that to work. She worked for the government. She took it to work and would eat it like pudding. Just basic bacon grease. And
That's
she said,
rough.
well, that's the reason why, because the government said that was a good source of protein and it was good for you. And she just kept doing it, even though there wasn't, well, after the Depression.
We always believe the government.
Yeah.
That was back when doctors said that smoking was good for your digestion.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. So another thing about the whole Bissell thing is, 150 years later, we know what Bissell means. So what do you think it's like to come up with a product or a company and have a legacy that lasts a century and a half? What do you guys think about that?
I think it's one of the big incentives that people have to start a company. I mean, the first is wealth creation, but the second is probably some sort of mimetic legacy. That's my
Mhm.
take, at least. What do you guys say?
Yeah,
Well,
Yeah.
I'm thinking Thomas Edison. I mean, we're what 150 plus years probably for GE, General Electric. I guess
Look,
that's still in existence.
yeah,
Yeah.
look at Kellogg.
Yeah.
Kellogg Corporation.
Kellogg?
Yeah,
Okay, I just want to make sure I heard right.
Mel,
Lunatic.
program.
I won't even get onto that.
Our best to you each morning.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hmm.
any thoughts, Ryan?
Oh, I mean, like on the 150 years, I think that's probably and somewhat of an innate human desire, whether it be in sports, inventions, anything.
Yeah.
Leave something behind, something to be remembered for,
Yeah.
Leaving a legacy.
in a legacy.
Yeah, I heard a statistic the other day that Fortune 500 20 or 30 years ago, the companies that made up the Fortune 500, the top 500 companies, like half of them are either out of business or have merged with somebody else.
Well, that makes sense.
So they got at least 250 names that are all new on the Fortune 500.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like Google, I'm sure would be one of them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And Facebook. And,
It'd be fun to
whatever they're
make a
called now.
company and call it Ozymandias, so that way it looks like you don't care either way. Go ahead and forget us. Yeah,
Oh,
weird.
wow. All right. Well, let's move on to the next. So one more September thought here, and this is a little more entrepreneurial than it is inventor. Well, no, I'd say it's sort of inventor related. And let me share my screen again, and we'll be done with the Bissell. And so on September 19th, which is what, a week from this Tuesday, it's coming
I
Tuesday,
think so.
is International Talk Like a Pirate Day. And you might say, Don, what in the world does Talk Like a Pirate Day have to do with it? Well, they invented this holiday. So the parodic, is that right? Parodic
Yeah.
holiday, International Talk Like a Pirate Day, was invented by John Barr and Mark Summers. It's just very, very odd, quirky. So they proclaimed September 19th the day at which everyone in the world should talk like a pirate. So it's just kind of a weird kind of holiday thing or day thing. I
You
think.
want to share that?
Oh, am I not sharing it?
No, you are.
Oh, I'm not.
No,
Click the link.
you're sharing that.
I'm
Oh,
sharing the wrong thing,
right.
guys. Sorry about that. Wow, that's probably the worst one I've done yet. There we go. All right, now we can see it. So, International Talk Like a Pirate Day. 1995, John Barr. So this is like they came up with something because they were bored. But here's the kind of the thing about it is, how do you know okay, first off, International Talk Like a Pirate Day. And I've seen some people do this with radio shows and different things. Oh, we're going to talk like a pirate all day today. Or some people just do it fun in an office. But how do we know that pirates really talk like that?
Probably from the 1930s movie about pirates.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's
That's
fake.
probably-
Yeah. It's like people make fun of the Appalachian accent because it's very rhotic. The R's are real heavy. And I think that's all it is. It's literally like the East London accent, like, oh, they pronounce their R's heavy, so R. I think that's all it is. I might be wrong.
So it's yeah, I mean, you think about it, it's even in more modern movies, it was kind of like the Jack Sparrow. for
Yeah.
instance.
Was that
Yeah.
when Pirates of the Caribbean came out in the movies? Was 1995 or was it later?
Oh, I know, it had to have been later.
Was it
Yeah.
later? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was quite a while ago.
Interesting.
Interesting.
I've been talking about holiday. That'd be kind of a fun invention, though, a day, and pretty easy since
Can-
it doesn't require any materials.
Yeah, can you invent a holiday?
Yeah.
You know, there's like 2 or 3 national inventor days. It's like nobody can decide
That's true,
what,
yeah.
what it needs to be. Maybe we need to make one.
There we go.
What do you think, Ryan?
Oh. Well, if one could invent a holiday that would allow for excused leave from one's employment,
Oh, it's great.
I would be on board.
I'm taking off today. It's National Talk Like a Pirate Day. None of you will understand me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on to that. From that to inventions in the news. First item here is graphene foam. And am I still? I'm not shared. I need to fix that. There we go. We're getting the hang of this, folks. So on to graphene, one of my favorite topics. So graphene foam is the future of IoT power, maybe. So this is an electronically charged spring in your step. A group of Scottish engineers claim to have come up with a new way to harvest electricity wasted by everyday human movement, electrically conductive foam. Here's a picture of what looks like their Frankentype. So it shows them stepping on this foam that is electrically charged using graphene. So they published a paper. The addition of 3-dimensional graphene. Well, now this part really kind of grabbed me right here. 3-dimensional graphene foam. So, you know, you think of graphene, and for those of you that aren't familiar with graphene, it's like this wonder material. Right now, they're only making it in small quantities. Nobody's cracked mass producing this stuff yet. But I think whoever does is going to that's going to really become something.
Carbon magnates.
Yeah.
Instead of steel magnates.
Yeah, right. So anyway, that kind of begs the question though. Is this research bluff? Because they published a paper, and you know, you always see these researchers and they'll publish a paper on something, or is this maybe something that's applicable? Maybe something someone could actually do? Does it have legs? Could someone actually turn this into a product that could be something? What do you guys think?
You think, Dwayne?
Well, I don't know why it's an IoT product. If it's generating electricity, that's not really what an IoT is.
I wonder why they called it that.
Because an IoT product or sensor collects data from the real world and transmits it into the virtual world. Conductive foam has been around for 50 years or plus. So basically, they take reticulated foam that's been impregnated with carbon and it makes it conductive. They used to use it a lot for packaging and so forth, computers back in the 80s or so. And only know that because I used to work for a foam fabricator that fabricated with conductive foam. And I don't know how, if you're just collecting a static charge, the economies of scale, would it work? I don't see that you would collect enough electricity to counter the price of what graphene would be. So I'm sure graphene's probably very expensive.
You'd have to make it a lot cheaper. I think. I mean,
mass produce it.
But
if you mass produce it, I don't know much about graphene. It's a carbon based product like a coal or something.
Basically 2-dimensional strip of
But
carbon.
it's
It's like
brittle.
1 atom thick or something.
Is it brittle or is it very?
I think it's
tough?
flexible, but I could be wrong.
It's,
In order to make a foam, it would have to have some level of integrity.
yeah, in some of the applications, it's supposed to have better strength than steel.
Really?
And better conductivity than a lot of other things. So there's all these wonder things they say you're supposed to be able to do with it. But I've not it's all been laboratory stuff. It's, oh, look, we did this. So we made some of these research folks, I want to rag on research folks. I mean, it's like, okay, we got this funding and we came up with this thing, and it's kind of like a middle school diorama when they're done, because it's like, okay, we're done. here it is. We presented it. Now we're going to move. I had a conversation with somebody about this earlier today. And then you'll have other teams, engineering teams. It's like, okay, this has a practical application. We can really do. And by the way, here's our commercialization plan on how to do it. And those are the ones you really want to watch and follow. But I just kind of wonder, could this be enough? Because they said it was a nano generators of electricity. So is it really going to do enough to really
Now, where
make something?
it could be beneficial is if whatever friction or whatever generates enough electricity to charge a battery. So if you have an IoT type device that's embedded in something that you can't dig up for 5 years, 10 years, maybe it goes inside your body or something,
Yeah.
generates its own power. through
Pacemaker,
friction,
maybe?
perhaps, or I'm thinking parking sensors that go into the ground that
Oh.
that are IoT type devices.
Oh, yeah.
Send radio signals out and
Mm.
very power sensitive. So that might be an opportunity for that.
One of the big like pie in the sky arguments for it is that if you pave like roads with it,
Mhm.
the friction of the actual tires against the road could power the electric vehicles, and then you just never need to fill up because you're filling your car up by driving.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
would be interesting.
That would be
Mm.
cool.
I always wonder why they didn't make the roads out of rubber and the tires out of asphalt though.
That's interesting. Yeah. I would love a
You should
Flintstone car.
try that.
Go bouncing down.
I'd love to see somebody actually like do that's almost like a Mythbusters thing, right?
Yeah, well, it's always, it's that creative exercises that inventors go through and
Right.
Mhm.
thinking up new ideas. Well, why don't we reverse it or
Yeah.
Yeah.
something totally different? So
Hmm.
Are you knowledgeable about the liquid battery that they just developed within the last year?
No, liquid. Like
Yeah,
mercury?
Well,
yeah, you would be able to pull into a charging area for your car, and it would drain the liquid out. There's two parts. You drain the liquid out and then fill it back up with charged liquid.
Bizarre. That makes me think of what we talked about old stuff before, but if it's like the Baghdad batteries, it was just a
yeah.
ceramic jar with
Ceramic
saline.
jars full of acid.
I'm sure this is more advanced than that, but
Yeah, yeah.
well, that's still one of my pet peeves on electric cars, which I think electric cars are great
Mm.
because the electric motors don't care what power as long as it's got the amps and the volts. So you can
Yeah.
power with whatever nuclear someday in the future.
Oh, I've argued for nuclear cars.
but
I'm serious.
But the cars today, like you say, it takes them 45 minutes, an hour on a
Right.
supercharger to charge up enough to go wherever you need to go.
And it kills me the people who are most prone to argue for the environment. It's
Mhm.
like, well, let's have thorium reactors.
Yeah.
Let's use nuclear energy and let's power the cars with that instead of these.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what.
But I always wonder why they don't have this quick change batteries in cars. So you have your car and then underneath is all your batteries for, the low center of gravity for the weight. And you just have an arm that slides the old batteries out, another arm that slides the new batteries in, 5 minute, and then you're on the road again. Now you may have like $100 deposit, $500 deposit or whatever, but still practicality is,
Oh,
you're not charging in your garage for when you're out on the road.
Yeah.
It's just like taking your old battery from your car and exchanging it for the new one. So
Weren't we promised nuclear cars?
we were promised
When we
flying
were
cars
Flying cars, that's what we
in
were
the
promised.
60s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were
Matter of
supposed
fact, George Jetson's birthday, I think, was last year, or birth date was last year. wasn't it?
Weird.
Oh, I didn't know George Jetson had a birth. Oh, yeah, I should look that up.
Apparently, it was in 2022 or something like
That's
that. That
funny.
was
Wow.
his birthday. Yeah, if you
Weird.
Google George Jetson's birthday.
Doesn't
No
it?
one
Want
wants
to
to
know where
get
my flying
stuck
car is.
with a bad interchangeable battery. Because you really don't know when the battery technology is going to go bad. And I mean, it's not like a propane cylinder where you can pretty well tell it's a propane cylinder. I mean, you look at the cost of these car batteries in the thousands of dollars, and somebody gives you $100 to trade out their battery, and all of a sudden you just got yourself a bad $3,000 battery.
Yeah, could be.
That's an
I mean,
argument.
this would be commercial type operations, so I'm sure there'd be a guarantee that would come with that. So just like your filling station, get a tank of bad gas, who do you sue for
Right.
ruining your car? Well, not carburetors anymore, fuel injectors or something like that. So
Yeah.
Yeah, but the commercial side doesn't want to get stuck with a bad battery that somebody trades in. That's the big challenge in the whole thing. Because to me that made a lot of sense that battery interchanges and go, but there's this liability side to the commercial side of them getting stuck with the bad battery.
Mhm.
Well,
They already have, I don't know if you mentioned it or not, but they already have that system where it has interchangeable batteries. Some robot, you drive into a place, a robot takes the battery off and puts a new battery in, and in about 10 minutes you're gone. I've seen some videos on that.
Wow.
Not Tesla's.
No, not Tesla.
isn't,
So Ryan, Dan, we're,
We get a segue.
yeah, we got a segue, Dan. So Ryan, you want to weigh in? Yeah, any thoughts on, you think it's research is fluff, or you think it's got legs?
I need to research the graphene foam more in general. But I do look at quite a bit of research, just with different things, but yeah, you're correct on a lot of that. It's hard to find good randomized control trials and
Yeah,
good literature, but yeah, I need to research it more.
cool. All right, well, let's go off to one more news item here. Or no, let's see, I think I've got two more if we have time. This next one is kind of an interesting story. It's an Arizona invention that is stopping police cars, or stopping police car chases. So
I was gonna say, I was like, this may not be.
we don't know what to stop police cars. We want it to stop police chases. So the Grappler is an Arizona-made device that deploys a nylon net in an effort to stop a suspect who's fleeing police. And years we first introduced this. It's called the Grappler Police Bumper. Let's see if we can play this.
You gotta make sure that it's shareable for sound.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Let's fix that first.
Yeah, you gotta
Sorry,
stop share.
folks.
Yeah.
All right, now let's share
I don't know why,
again.
I remember that. So
Leo remembers
like,
to do this.
I think it's OCD. It's literally the same reason I check to make sure the oven's off. So
Next time I want to make sure the oven's off, I want to ask Leo. All right, let's see if it works now. No sound.
Freeways for hours. Thousands and thousands of drivers left stranded as a result, and a number of innocent people also left injured after getting caught up in these situations. This was the scene on Tuesday. This was on the northbound Loop 101 and McDonald Drive, where DPS troopers used a pit maneuver to try and stop a truck they were pursuing. But the driver ended up going the wrong way, crashing into 4 vehicles and leaving 9 people hurt. And on Tuesday, another wild scene here. This was as DPS troopers and Glendale police tried to stop a Mercedes with a stolen license plate. But this all ended with a crash here at the intersection of 20th Street and Indian School Road in Phoenix. DPS tried to use a grappler to stop the car. That is the device you see here on the front of this DPS SUV. But the driver rammed another car before they could catch him. Tonight, we talked to the Valley man who invented the grappler about how this invention is helping keep officers and civilians safe during these wild pursuits. Police pursuits are unpredictable, dangerous, and in some cases, even deadly. They put not only the officers' lives in danger, but also innocent people who happen to get caught up in the chaos. Until recently, there was no safe way to bring them to an end. Officers would have to rely on using a pit maneuver to try to stop the vehicles they were after by forcing a vehicle to spin out and come to a stop, or lay down spike strips to deflate the tires. But even then, the suspects would often keep going on the rim only. But that changed 5 years ago with the invention of this. The Grappler Police Bumper, a device that uses a heavy-duty nylon net deployed from the front of a pursuing police vehicle that wraps around the rear tire of the suspect vehicle, bringing a pursuit to a controlled stop.
We're not putting them into a spin. We're not doing, deflating tires. We are just stopping their vehicle.
When Arizona DPS Sergeant Eric Andrews first saw the Grappler device demonstration several years ago, he admits he was skeptical.
I saw the YouTube video of it being used, and I went, no way that that's actually true. And the more I learned about it, and especially coming into the Highway Patrol Division and seeing it firsthand and going through the training myself, it's astonishing. It works as described. It's a great tool that we've added to our arsenal here.
Sergeant Andrews was hardly the only one intrigued by the 2016 YouTube demonstration video of the Grappler.
Within about a week, there were about 100 million different views on different platforms.
Grappler inventor and Peoria resident Leonard Stock was a roofer for 3 decades before coming up with the idea in a dream.
When I first thought of the idea, I thought, you know, this could just flop and not go anywhere, or it could potentially be huge.
It's definitely not a flop. Stock says since this first successful grapple by Border Patrol back in 2018, there have been roughly 550 more by police agencies all over the country. Nearly 1,000 of the devices have been installed on law enforcement vehicles, with more orders coming in almost daily. His workforce of 15 people work nearly non-stop at this workshop in the West Valley, trying to keep up with the demand.
Yeah, every day we're trying to figure out how much more space we need, how many more people we need to hire, and it's just a constant update, like almost every day. Okay, these orders came in, how are we going to take care of that?
Stock says Arizona DPS is the biggest Grappler customer. More than 350 of them will be installed on their vehicles by the end of this year.
I think when it was more widely used, that's when people really saw the potential, and that's when officers started going and troopers started going, oh man, this is a game changer. This is a really cool device that works as advertised. I mean, this is something that you know, you kind of think of like a Batman tool that you've seen on TV or in the cartoons when you were a kid, but actually seeing it deploy and seeing it work, it's a cool experience to see that happen.
Sergeant Andrews says most of the drivers who end up getting grappled have no idea what just happened.
That's the reaction of almost every single person that I've ever heard of that gets grappled. They go, oh my gosh, what just happened? And that's shocked that they don't know why they can't go forward. They just know that they're stopped and it's done at that point.
DPS says its success rate at using the Grappler is nearly 80%. It's impossible to know how many lives may have been saved by using it, but Leonard says he's happy the idea that came to him in a dream is having such an impact.
With the amount of grapples that have happened out in the field, that maybe one of those did save a life.
And the Grappler has also been used to stop a driver who was having a medical episode and also a woman whose accelerator got stuck. Each one of them costs about $5,000 to install, but law enforcement agencies say that's a small price to pay if they can save even one life.
Yeah.
A former Arizona state lawmaker charged with child sex crime.
Didn't want to go to the next one, but all right. So, and actually I have here the, I think it's Motor Trend magazine. They just show it in a little more detail here. This was a cool story, and you know, the thing that grabbed me the most about it was the fact that he had, what did he say, 15 people working in there, and I think that was a plasma cutter I saw.
Yeah, I mean, it was basically just a makerspace.
Yeah, it looked like a makerspace, right? And they were cracking these things out, and I thought, wow, that is just so cool. And he's selling these things to police departments all over.
That's cool.
So anyway, yeah. So what do you guys think?
George, what's your thoughts on this thing?
I think there's a lot of room here for another invention. Is that, you know, burglars and criminals have a lot of money.
Yeah.
Funny you should mention.
Have to invent the de-grappler.
There we go. Arms race.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Actually, there's, and this reminded me of this. Do you remember the bowler wrap?
Yeah, that was actually my first thought. I was like, this is like Woody Norris's
Yeah, Woody
bowler
Norris.
wrap. Yeah.
So Woody Norris is he's an amazing inventor. He's what is he, like in his 90s?
Yeah,
something like
he's
that.
up there. Yeah.
And
we'll be able to get him to speak again sometime.
I hope we have him back soon.
Where does he live?
Northern California was, but he may have moved since then.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty big, but if you just look up bowler wrap, so it's a device kind of like a taser, and you just point it at the
Ties them up.
Yeah, ties them up.
It's like a flip. It literally looks like something from a utility belt, like the
It looks like Batman.
Yeah.
Batman.
Yeah.
So it wraps up.
Well, basically what that is, it just shoots out a rope with a weight on each end.
Yep.
And when the rope gets divided, then the weight, the the energy and the weights, caused it to wrap around the person.
Exactly. Yeah.
And there's
And
little
that's-
hooks that kind of grab onto the person's clothes.
Yeah.
And that's using old tech. Like that's basically a taser, which is new tech, but Ebola, like that's like Amazonians have been hunting monkeys with those for probably 16,000 years.
Kevlar. Oh,
So all right. So you brought up an area for an invention. Now this particular device that you're talking about, the Grappler. Okay. The problem with that though is you have to get right up to the rear of the vehicle in pursuit. You got to get real close to it, in order for it to get it under the wheel to wrap around. So there needs to be a way, take the bolo wrap and combine it with that and something where you can do it at a distance.
There we go.
There you go.
There's an invention there.
Yeah.
Well, that being said, let me throw out this question for the group or for the folks here at the table. So can bootstrapping like this guy did, you think that can be done in other areas?
Oh. Well, I will defer to other people first. How about you?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Ryan's been bootstrapping for.
Yeah.
I was going to say.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I think this is very feasible. I think we, as a group, we see this all the time. Really cool things that people bootstrap.
Yeah. Yeah, they just started out of a garage. They started out of, and you don't need $1 million to start doing something like this. You really don't. And that's the thing. I did this, with my business in a farmhouse in Eastern Kentucky. We started, I loaded up samples into a 1991 Mercury Tracer wagon and drove around from hospital to hospital. That's how we started. And so when I saw this, I immediately identified with it for that reason. So yeah, I think it can be done. And sometimes I think it's picking your idea is a big piece of it too. You got to pick an idea that's scalable. I can make 100 of these. I can make 1,000 of these. I can make 100,000 of these. And starting like that, it makes it so much easier to bootstrap.
You mentioned makerspace too. I think that's key to have that in an area. I was fortunate. I grew up on a farm, so I had welders, old Lincoln welder that I cut metal and weld things. But you start putting things together, and you say, maybe if I try this, that might work better. If you try this, but most people don't have access to that type of things, but they have it all up here.
Mm-hmm.
But to make a minimum viable product, you need to have the tools sometimes really the know-how too to put something together like this.
Importance of maker spaces.
Mm-hmm.
They're launching a new one in Lexington very soon, I think. Yep.
Because they got the one over there in
Yeah, no, we're good.
Yeah.
One over there on New Circle, Wood Hill area.
Yep. And they're opening a new kind of a rebirth of that.
Spiritual successor.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah. So ought to be pretty cool.
Yeah, their old space was really nice, but it was also on some very valuable property too. So
Oh yeah.
next to University of Kentucky.
Right. So, all right. Well, cool. Yeah, I hope this guy, maybe we can have him on sometime. It'd be cool to get
That
to
would
meet
be
him.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, when they kept saying Peoria inventor, but I guess it was Peoria.
Illinois.
No, that was they're in Arizona. So I guess
There,
it
I
must
guess,
be in Peoria,
Arizona.
Arizona. I did not know.
I didn't know that
So,
either.
yeah. All right. So all right, one more here. So New York seeks to limit the scope of permissible invention assignment agreements. And this kind of caught my attention. It's a little attorney-esque, but
I don't know what that means.
nobody knows what that means because I'm not sharing my screen again. Sorry, guys. Here we go. All right. So New York seeks to limit the scope. And this kind of threw me a little bit first, but then I finally kind of read into it. So this is when you are working for a company, and I've heard of this from other folks because I never worked for a large company. I always had my own. But some people that work for large companies, and they're especially if they're in product development, they have to sign this agreement. Anything you invent has to be we're owned by us. And some of these agreements are a little harsh. I mean, they're like, it's not, you feel, let's say you work for I don't know, a printer manufacturer or something. And they say, well, if you come up with something that's completely different and has nothing to do with anything like that, then yeah, you've got to, we own it. We own you and your children and anything else you create.
Stuff that comes out of your brain is ours. Yeah.
Right. So this was meant to limit that. So I guess there were probably maybe there were some big companies in that area that were sort of saying we own it all, and you're going to sign this saying we own it all. And I can understand kind of the other side of it too. I can understand if I was a company owner and I had an employee and they were an engineer and they were working on a particular project for me, if they came up with something and I was paying them to do it, yeah, I would want to own that IP. But on the other hand, if they come up with something that has nothing to do with what I hired them for, I think that's a different take.
Yeah, I can see both sides of that too, but it's also limiting innovation within a company if they're afraid to throw out all their great ideas and then lose that IP, as you said. I think most companies, most of the larger companies, though, they share in the revenue of a new invention or something that revolutionizes things. And you walk into like an IBM office in the old days and see patents up on the wall, and that person is doing pretty well because he's getting a share of the revenue, somewhat. But now, if it's completely different, but you're not doing it on a company time, I don't see how they could.
Yeah,
I don't either. That's the part that bothered me, and that's the part where I would kind of agree with them, but only to a point. If they come up with something that's they've paid them to work on, then I can kind of see that. But if it's working in your garage and you're making something in a completely different industry, they indentured servitude kind of went out
exactly
a long time ago.
So Thomas Edison, all the guys who worked for him, when they came up with invented things, improving stuff, he took the invention. It was all patented under his name.
True.
As opposed to George Westinghouse, he let all the people who were working in his company, if they invented something, they got the patent.
Makes sense.
And George Westinghouse still had a lot of his own.
Sure.
But he let the people who worked for him take full advantage of their invention.
Wasn't that Tesla's issues with?
That was
true.
Westinghouse paid him more too, if I remember right.
Yeah, he paid him a lot of money, and then Tesla tore it all up at one time.
Let him have it
because he was having problems producing that motor.
I'm glad.
If Tesla had won, though, we'd all be using DC energy.
No, Tesla was AC.
Was the AC? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, my bad.
Well, if Edison won,
that's right. I got backwards.
No worries.
Because Edison electrocuted an elephant with AC, right?
Well, there was kind of this grudge with Edison and Tesla on that, and they were just like, AC's dangerous. Nobody should ever be using it. It's bad. And he was like trying to show all, and he's the one who came up with the electric chair. Kind of backfired on him.
I'm glad this is a state matter and not a federal one, though, because this means that we can kind of see what the ramifications will be over time.
Not many good things come out of New York right now. So.
Well, that gave me pause when I first read it, and then I thought, I can see as long as it's balanced. I guess that's the thing. I can't stand to watch a big company take advantage of somebody who doesn't have the power to do anything about it, or a small entrepreneur especially. But if it's a small company and they're being good and they're playing fair, everybody's just got to treat everybody right. I guess that's what it boils down to for me. Ryan, any thoughts?
I concur with most of what you said.
Cool.
The golden rule.
The golden rule. Golden rule stands. Absolutely. Well, with that, Ryan, let's segue to you. Ryan is actually our featured inventor tonight. And Ryan is the inventor of, what do we, you've got a really cool name for it and I'm blanking out on it,
It's
right?
a Ridge Walk. Right.
Ridge
I don't think I ever
Walker.
heard the name.
I love the name
Nice.
Ridge Walker.
And, yeah, and I have a website now, Don. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's
Ooh, let's,
www.theridgewalk.com.
theridgewalk.com. Well, we're gonna pull that up.
Yeah, nice.
It still needs some editing. But, it's still in the initial stages of the website there, but that was with some assistance. You were talking about the radically rule and so forth, but
Mhm.
that was with the website development was with assistance from shaping our Appalachian region.
Oh, yeah, SOAR. Yeah, we know
Oh,
those guys.
nice. Very nice branding, by the way. Love
Thank
the gray and blue.
Thank you.
So must have spilled.
Oh, yeah.
Wrong. There you go.
There we are. Oh, yeah. Increases blood flow, reduces inflammation, strengthens art musculature, and immediate pain resolution. So this is for people with plantar fasciitis.
Most of the testing back to, I guess, talking about studies and research, as you were, most of the research, supported research is for plantar fasciitis. I think there will be other implications, possibly, with diabetes mellitus and
That makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
diabetic neuropathy because of the increase of blood flow. And
Met a lot of people lately with just generalized neuropathy. Do you think it would have a benefit there?
I think anything that would increase blood flow and deliver more oxygen to the nerves,
Tissues
so they
and
give
nerves, yeah.
tissues,
Okay.
be beneficial.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, show it to us.
Yep. So, and I've gone through quite a few different iterations with this. Back to the bootstrapping. So I actually started building these at home, out back in the garage.
Oh, hold them up so they can see them.
Okay. Yep. So we have, but you can kind of see the ridges on top of the insert.
It's a much more flexible iteration than the one I saw last.
Yeah.
Nice.
And that was like version one.
That's the one I saw, yeah.
After the
We remember version
I have
one when you
those.
first came and started coming to the meetings.
Yep. And so
Might look like those too.
I've received a small grant from the Kentucky Science Technology Center. I'm thankful for that. And that's kind of how these came about. And we still have some more work to do on these just to get the density of the material correct. And then with SOAR, I won a pitch competition there last year. Well, second place. That was still a win for me. And
Yeah.
so I've had a couple of those things that have helped kind of push me along on this.
Cool. So how'd you come up with the idea?
So at work, working as a physical therapist, I always look for patterns. I guess at work and other things in general. And I try to look at the body simplistically as much as I can. So like a muscle, for instance, I kind of see things more as like ropes and pulleys, and I guess more how things are working in that manner. But and you guys have probably seen these before, but like someone with tennis elbow or lateral epicondylitis or a golfer's elbow, medial epicondylitis, they make braces. You can go out tonight at CVS, Walmart, anywhere, pick up one. But it's essentially just a strap that will go around and apply pressure distal to the connection point of that tendon where it inserts on the bone. So that muscle and tendon, is going to extend kind of down. When it shortens, it's going to pull from connection point to connection point, extend your wrist. So the downward force of that essentially creates a new insertion point for that tendon. So the pressure is applied down. It can still function properly, but you won't have the same pull at the end of that rope, there, so to speak. So, and I'd had several patients with the plantar fascia pain, and so the plantar fascia, very similar to this. If you think back, this is a tendon. Of course, the plantar fascia is a ligament not designed to stretch by nature. But if you can think essentially of a rope being connected from bone to bone, so that would be normal arch in one's foot, so you would have X length, and as that kind of elongates, or if you lose that arch, which most of us do, so now you're going to have a lot of tensile force. Here is where the majority of the pain is with plantar fasciitis, is at the connection point on the under surface of the calcaneus. So I thought, even though it's a different structure, if force applied here alleviates that pain and discomfort, if I apply an upward force there, it might potentially do the same thing. So I can remember the first time I experimented with that. I had a fellow, he actually came in on crutches. He was in so much pain, he couldn't bear weight on his foot. So I rolled up some of that stretchy TheraBand that we use for exercise. I rolled it kind of in a cylinder, and I took his insert out of his shoe, and I just taped it. I taped it right in front of that connection point on his heel. It was maybe that tall, cylindrical. As soon as he stepped down, no pain. And he walked out of there without his crutches. I said,
Wow.
I am on to something. And and you will, I mean, you'll see you'll see different types of compressive sleeves and so forth that will kind of push up there, but it won't give that direct push. So one might ask, if one ridge was successful on that, why multiple ridges? I had the answer to that probably a twofold or threefold or quadruple fold, but so after doing my research on kind of that, there was actually a company making an insert with one raised here, and that company is actually called healthatpain.com. I didn't know they existed until I researched that. At one time, it was endorsed by Jason Kidd, an NBA player, and he still might be an endorsee. I'm not certain.
You need to poach him.
But so then in my mind, I got to thinking, okay, so how could I potentially work around this and maybe even give added benefit or improve on something that's already existing? Because I really didn't want to give up on the idea, and no one had ever heard of the aforementioned that I just spoke of, and I still had a lot of folks that were hurting. So that's when I started experimenting with the multiple ridges, and that led to probably a year and a half, 2 years of different heights, different spacing structure. And the spacing is different depending upon, well, the spacing remains the same, but you got a lot of variables there, male versus female, and different shoe size, so on and so forth. But so with the additional ridges, I got less tensile pull there, so more pain reduction there, but kind of a byproduct of that I didn't foresee was the improvement with blood flow. And because that tissue becomes very inflamed, and this almost works like if you've ever heard of like a acupressure or like, or they make lots of gizmos, you can put in pressure and then take the pressure off, so you get an influx, outflux of blood flow. That's essentially what you're doing when you step on these and you pick your foot back up and you go back down. So you create an influx, outflux of blood flow. So that helped reduce the inflammation. And then the multiple ridges also kind of naturally get your foot to use the musculature, not similar to like walking in sand, but I mean, I guess maybe in some sense, not exactly, but you're still engaging the intrinsic foot musculature to work versus just giving it a flat surface. You're getting that stimulation. So that gets more at the cause of the problem is, why is this arch collapsed?
Interesting. So what do you think the hardest part of the whole journey was for you?
Well, and Don helped me a lot with this. Probably staying focused on one thing. And
I remember there was a bit of a illusion.
And I wouldn't say that I forget other things I'm working on. Like if you were to walk into my office right now on my dry erase board, I probably have 40 things up there. I have P's beside things that I have prototypes on. I have I forget what symbol beside things that I either have a provisional patent or a patent on. But just writing this thing out until either it's gonna be a success or not before I move on. That's been the hardest thing for me. And just leaving some of those other things on the back burner, so to speak.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, sounds like you overcame that and you've got a good laser focus on this. So that's commendable. So what do you think helped you the most to get you to the point that you're at now?
Definitely the Inventors Network.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll throw that out there. And yeah, before I joined this group, I mean, I wouldn't say I necessarily felt like an outcast, but I know I thought a little differently than lots of folks. And it's just been a really neat place. I mean, to see that enthusiasm, ideas from other people, and just to find one's flock, so to speak, and also the information that I've gained and encouragement and just the I guess direction towards available resources to help me kind of move this thing along. And I still consider myself in the infancy stage, and I will do so until I get these things into production. But I'm gonna keep working on it.
Cool. Well, I'm so excited you got a website and I mean you've got really nice demo types, looks like now. And so you're like moving right along. So if anybody wants to get more information, they can, or if they want to kind of just reach out to you and learn more or get on a list to buy one. When they're ready, they just go to
I think my number, and I haven't looked at the website. It's been a minute, but
I'm putting it in the chat.
Oh, okay. Leo's putting it in my
number and my email are on the website. I'm not certain, but if anyone is suffering from plantar fasciitis and would like a pair of inserts and knows a family member, they're not going to get something that looks as nice right now, but the ones that I still build by hand are completely functional. I still build them for patients.
Wow.
I've never charged a patient for a pair that I built, and through this process, but I still build them right now with a cork and a PPT plastizole material for the ridges. I order all that material, and I've got a good glue that makes those ridges adhere to glue from Germany, orthotic grade, and I just have to open the windows, but I use
We're gonna find you a better place with ventilation. Right. Oh, cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing this with us.
Absolutely.
We're excited for it. We're excited where you're at and where you're gonna go with this. So
Yeah, let's all give them a hand.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Okay, so folks, are there any questions anyone has that they'd like to put in the chat, or maybe that they have put in the chat?
Yeah.
And we'll take some questions right now.
While we're waiting for questions, let me ask Ryan something. Have you applied to like Awesome Inc.'s 5 Across to pitch their contest?
I see it pop up and
You need to do that. It's $5,000.
oh wow.
And then they take the top 10 winners.
20% chance of winning. So.
It's like
Yeah.
I thought it was always like 500.
No, they've upped it now to 5,000, and then they
It's 5 o'clock for $5,000.
Is that each competition? How
Yes.
often do they do that?
Every 2 months.
every 2 months. Yeah, so
Oh, thank
10
you,
10
Dwayne.
times a year, $5,000, and then if you compete in Christmas time or December, it's $50,000.
Oh,
And I think it's in
Wow.
a safe note. If you know what a safe
Yep,
note
yep.
is, okay. So I don't really understand that, but it sounds like a lot. But not only you get the money, but you get the publicity, because you never know, because there's a lot of people said on the
I
bluegrass,
reach out to the competitors. I'm like, I can do marketing
or
for
what they call it, bluegrass angels is usually there. So
Absolutely.
Were you at the last one? Because
I was.
Yeah, I was there too.
don't worry, I
See
missed
ya.
you.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Neat.
Yeah, I didn't like any of the ideas.
I like the winner, I have to say. Oh, man, yeah, some of them were.
A lot of software companies, a lot of apps. Everybody has an app.
Everybody has an app.
And it's just, we don't need another food delivery app or other things like that. So, but anyway,
Cool. We need more robots.
what's that?
We need more robots.
We do need more robots. Yes. Yeah.
So what's the coolest thing at Pringle?
Well, right now I'm working a lot with artificial intelligence and taking one of our robots that's got some pretty neat facial recognition and other advanced features on the robot, and applying those to medical applications for hospitals, assisted living, nursing homes. And if you
This
remember,
is kind of in line with, yeah.
yeah, if you remember 4 or 5 years ago, I had developed a company to try and prove out that idea, and unfortunately ran out of time, ran out of money. But now there is a concept like that. It's still not done yet, but the idea is to take a robot that's mobile, that interacts with humans, voice and so forth, and measure your vitals again, like your blood pressure, your
It's way
temperature,
more
and so
doable
forth.
now. I mean, everybody's got.
This one, and I was just talking with a guy in Boston today. This one, they're putting infrared sensors on it to measure fall patients at nighttime, so it can actually pick up somebody falling in the nighttime. I asked the question, and this is one of the things I want to put into it. It kind of goes back to Ryan's invention, gait. As your gait changes, you get to indicate instances for falling. So there's a lot of those things, but I know the state of Kentucky is actually interested in using this type of technology for opioid rehab, drug rehab centers. So they teach a lot of the technicians on how to aid in recovery and so forth at the community colleges. However, once they get out in the field, they're experiencing all types of instances of things that they don't expect and so forth. Just like dementia, you just don't know what to expect.
Of course, yeah.
So we're looking at this facial recognition and for privacy and HIPAA regulations, obviously, just looking at points on your face. There's like 68 points that indicate if you're under stress, you're happy, you're sad, you got to go to the bathroom, whatever. So it can pick that up. And then we're thinking if we can keep that within the robot itself and not transfer information over the internet, we can keep that within HIPAA law. So that's kind of some of the latest and greatest that we're working on. But
cool.
I've got a call at Norton Hospital on Monday to talk about floor cleaning robots and disinfecting robots. So there's obviously some issues. I think they've had I don't want to call it any particular one, but issues with disinfection problems, not wiping down surfaces and keeping them clean. So we've got some ultraviolet D lighting that is put on an autonomous robot. So when humans are not around, it could actually run through these rooms, run through operating rooms, and disinfect those. So using UVC light or UVC
OCD
light.
person, I'll take interval. So
and then it actually has a misting on top for it has used a hypochloric solution for misting, so that gets the surfaces that the UVC light does not hit. So it's some pretty interesting things.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to see that.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
All right.
Well, and then floor cleaning robots. We just inked the letter to put them into Cincinnati Airport. So you'll see those if you're flying out of Terminal A.
What is that?
Floor cleaning robots. So these will go through and clean the carpeting and so forth. There's already at the Cincinnati Airport these large mobile robots called Autonobots. Right now, they're only delivering subways too. So you're sitting there waiting for your airplane, and you don't want you see the line at Subway, or we want Chick-fil-A, obviously, because the lines are always long at Chick-fil-A's, but have that delivered to your seat while you're waiting for your plane to.
That is cool.
Yeah. So it's an overkill. It's kind of like taking what is it, a 747 that a Cessna might work. But, the old saying that, we're looking at this last mile delivery too. That's another part of it is, why deliver an 8-ounce burrito in a 8,000-pound car? So we're looking at that last mile type deliveries.
We just ate at me and my family at a Izakaya place off Nicholasville, and it was the overkill made me think because they have a robot that delivers you.
Oh, okay. Well,
but it delivers it from the kitchen, which is like 14 feet away.
We make those also. There's a lot of those out there, and that's actually how the company got her start was robot deliveries and within restaurants, because especially right before COVID, they were having problems finding servers, waiters, waitresses, somebody take them to the table. So the robot can do all that.
Campus, I was outside eating lunch.
Oh, really?
On the sidewalk it goes, delivering food.
Yeah, that's a competitor.
Kentucky?
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
That's actually one of our competitors that I'm hoping.
Oh, really? There you go.
I'll get the grappler on it for you.
Yeah, so those are relatively small. Ours will hold about 160 pounds. They're very large.
Wow.
To navigate through snow and ice and so forth.
So when I was a kid, there was a restaurant in our neighborhood, and Glen Oaks and they'd have a train on the tracks coming, deliver you a hamburger.
Oh, wow.
That'd be really cool.
That was
An early,
robot.
early version of that.
60s.
Yeah.
First, I guess it was a mail delivery robot that I saw was in a hospital.
Mhm.
And it was an amazing thing to see. And this was,
Yeah, it runs along a little track that's you can
15
draw on the
years ago.
floor.
Yeah. There was a little track. It just
Yeah.
followed the little, looked like tape on the floor or
Mhm,
something.
that's
And it
exactly-
followed the tape and
Yeah, those are-
would stop and deliver the mail.
Yep.
So
Ours uses LiDAR to map out the floor,
Ooh.
2-dimensional, and then it has cameras on board, GB type cameras. And it learns as it goes. And it learns if
Wow.
there's something in the way, it goes around it. And let's say if it's cleaning the floor, if that object that was there, it'll come back to that spot and try and clean it. But if there's something there and it's there for several days, it's going to learn that and it's learns that it doesn't have to clean that area.
that is.
So it's constantly learning, and
Wow.
it's just amazing, some of
Wow.
these things. But
Did you say they've got one in Cincinnati?
yeah, the airport, yeah, there's the delivery bots there.
We're gonna
Two of
be
them.
in Cincinnati.
say,
So if
Yeah.
you're at Concourse
Okay.
Concourse A, that would be probably one of the main ones.
It'll be good for social media. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Big
will, if we see it, we're going to videotape.
I think it's wrapped maybe with Subway. I don't know if it's Subway's advertising on it right now. One of the founders and investors actually lives in Cincinnati. He's actually an adjunct professor for the University of Cincinnati, but he also owns 75 Amazon delivery trucks for that last mile type deliveries.
Mhm.
And he was looking at this. He's also looked at drones for deliveries and so forth. But we have those issues with the on line of sight flying and so forth. They can't do that. But so he's looking at this. The last mile is still not there yet. It's still in its infancy, and even in UK they are having problems like crossing the street.
Oh, yeah.
The human will actually have to take over and maneuver across the street. So that's the things that we're trying to overcome.
My
But
biggest concern is just actually the human element, like vandalism. Yeah.
that is a problem.
It needs to
that
be
we see.
legal
Yeah.
for them to be able to defend themselves.
Yeah, people
There you go.
tend to take their frustrations out
Yeah,
on
exactly.
sometimes, especially if it's in the way or something.
Yeah.
So,
They need castle doctrine for robots.
but here probably hopefully by the end of the month, we'll have a couple of other floor cleaning robots up in
Nice.
Cincinnati, and they're very innovative. Actually, Cincinnati Airport is one of the most innovative airports in the world, and so they're always looking at new technology, and they have innovation centers. So that's what we're trying to get involved with.
It's really cool.
While I'm there, I'm hoping to get into Procter & Gamble and Kroger's too.
There you go. Hey, yeah.
So look what Cincinnati is doing. You can do the same thing.
That's right.
Yeah. So,
That's right.
yeah, it's fun stuff, but service bots are fun things.
Nice.
Wow. All right, folks. Well, any other questions from the
I
folks?
think
Are we
not.
I think we're done.
think
All
we're
right.
out.
Well, any parting thoughts, everybody?
Been fun.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for
Yeah,
coming here.
thank
Thank
you
you so
all
much,
so
George,
much.
for helping out.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. Stay tuned, folks. October 3rd is our first October meeting. That's going to be Tuesday, October 3rd. Watch your email inboxes or our website, kyinventors.org for that. Our next upcoming event announcement will be coming to you next week is our inventor workshop. Have to be a member. You can go to our website again, kyinventors.org, and sign up to be a member and join us for that as well. So thank you all so much for tonight. We really appreciate you spending your time with us and hope you had a lot of fun. I know we did, and we will see you next week.
Hi, everybody.